Okay, I'm here with my mulching mower turned upside down. It's a Black & Decker. See, I put a Sunoco sticker on it a few summers ago. The problem is that I put on a cheap extension cord to the inlet to the prongs. Cheap Chinese outdoor extension cord, in which the I guess there's been problems with it where, being that it's cheap and being that these prongs I already snipped off either come loose or get corroded over time, that the tightness of the extension cord caused these to break off more, and then they started to weld to the extension cord. So I had to cut the extension cord and remove it. And I cut the ends of the prongs off, and I have these exposed wires. There's another video that shows how to change out this switch if you ever have a problem with that. I'm not having that problem, but the instructions in some of those videos for changing out the switch are the same for this one, as far as removing the outer housing of this unit, which I already did. I also want to point out that I used a star tip screwdriver, or I should say I took a bit from my drill bit kit and put it in this rotary screwdriver. I'm not sure which size star tip you're going to need, but you can figure that out, because the majority of the screws on the housing require this tool. There are star tip screws in there, other than the Phillips head screw for the main screw, which is also connected to a bolt. Alright, so back to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a plug kit that you can buy for a couple bucks if you were to replace a lamp cord or extension cord plug. This is what I could have used. A couple bucks at any hardware store. It does not come with wires inside, so I had to harvest these wires from actually an old outdoor lighting fixture I'm no longer using. So I snipped a section of the wire from that. Obviously my black is going to connect to the negative terminal here. I'm going to wrap these together. I'm going to wrap the positive to this white one, obviously, and I'm also going to solder it. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to take away this piece and not use it. I was trying to figure out how, if I were to somehow connect it here, then I'd have extra housing on the outside with the prong sticking out, but I don't know how to connect this base to this. So instead, once I get this all set up, I'm going to use the screw housing here and put wood screws in here, and I'm going to drill holes in here, one on each side for two of these holes, and one inside the edge of this housing here, and screw this in. However, in one of these screw kits, one of these plug kits, it comes with these little screws, which I had to snip off because they're screws that you use to put back together when you connect the back of the prong housing kit. So I didn't need those screws, and I had to cut them out. Actually, I used wire cutters to cut the ends of these screws, and then I backed them out of the hole. So now I have these holes exposed free, so I can use something like this, a little steel wood screw. So we're going to see how that turns out. I'm going to kind of skip to that point, and we'll see how this turns out. Alright, so another one of the things I just realized is that in order to make these wires flush, even after I solder the ends together with my plug kit, right here, I'm going to twist them together and solder them. I want these to go through here. So I'm going to need to create channels here. There's already a melted channel here from where the prongs have started to burn and melt through here. So that's one channel. I'm going to dig out a little bit more, and this one too. Obviously you can cut it with a knife, but this is kind of brittle plastic, not very soft. So instead I'm going to use a little tool cutter here. And I'm going to cut some wedges in here to make sure that goes through. Okay, so another thing I realized is I wanted to make sure I insulated the inside of the housing of this prong kit. So I did wrap it with some electrical tape. I also wanted to make sure I did not obscure where the screws are going to come through. So I cut around those screw holes and then fitted 2 top pieces of tape around the negative and the positive leads, including the screw housing inside. As you can see, I made it flush so that the ends of these screw pilot holes here, as I said, the original ones that I backed out, if you can see that there, right here, I want those to wedge up and mount flush to the housing here and to here. Alright, so continuing on, we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I have success with this first screw, which is flush with the screw holes. And it's drilled all the way in to the back of the housing. So it's pretty solidly mounted. Now I want to mount the other 2. Problem is I started out with a screw that was similar in size. And unfortunately, the head of the screw is too big to fit flush inside here. I want to make sure it's flush so it doesn't interfere with the prongs. So I found this in my toolbox. These are tiny wood screws. I think this is going to work. We'll see. Okay, so the wires are wrapped together, and next I'm going to solder them. Okay, so I got a halfway decent soldering job, and now I'm going to wrap each wire as well over the solder with electric tape. Alright, so I've got all 3 screws in. You can see this is the prongs stick out, but the housing for the prongs is flush with the original wire harness housing. And the switch is still working. I made sure it lines up properly. You got to make sure you pay attention to the tension of these screws so that it'll still release properly. I had a problem with that, putting it back together. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helped out. I'm also going to attach a permanent extension cord here so that we don't have to keep taking it on and off. That's it.